The following podcast is part of the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. For advertising information or to find more great podcasts, visit us at www.theunderdogsports.com and follow us on Twitter at RealTheUnderdog.
Okay. Well, just for the record, we got it's sunny in Phoenix too. 52
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sunny in Phoenix podcast, a weekly podcast where we keep you up to date on everything Phoenix Suns basketball. My name is Charlie Erling, and as always, I'm joined by Mitch Krmpotich.
I don't know about you, but I feel good.
I don't know about you, but I feel good.
We thank you for tuning in. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the first three preseason games for the Suns and talk a little bit about all the new guys and what we saw out of them. After that, we'll just briefly touch on the upcoming games and who has impressed us most so far through the preseason.
Shout-outs are in order. Shout-out to the D-backs. They've been really good, and they're going to the NLCS. And by the time this is out, Game 1 will be happening, I believe, Monday, October 16th. So shout-out to them. I was at the game where they finished the sweep of the Dodgers. Well, we were both there, actually, with our wives and my wife's brothers, and it was very fun. So shout-out to the D-backs. Make sure to watch them and support them, too.
4 home runs in a half inning is probably the craziest baseball I've ever witnessed in my life.
It was awesome. Yeah,
that was nuts.
That was so fun.
That was a fun time to be at the old ballpark for sure.
That's right.
All right. So let's hop right into it and talk about the... Oh, are you doing a... No, that was the shout out. My bad.
Yep.
All right, let's hop right into it and talk about the first 3 games that the Suns have played so far through the preseason. And, you know, each one of these games have some meaning behind it for the Suns. Yeah, it's just preseason, but if you look at the matchups, there's something interesting in each one of them. And we'll start with Detroit, obviously Monty Williams' new team. So getting to meet back up with Monty as soon as possible for the Suns, and we come away with a win, 130-126.
It's funny you say that because my thinking was, wow, the NBA really did this on purpose. They want to make the preseason really dramatic. And then I remembered that the preseason was scheduled before the Ayton trade, and Denver just happens to be close. The Detroit game, that could have potentially just been for drama because there's no reason for us to go out there. We could have played Utah instead, stay a little closer, but whatever. I don't think it's necessarily this big plan to get people to watch the preseason. Anyway, this game was interesting. It really made me realize the fact that this team is like very different than last year. I mean, the returning guys that we have are Booker and KD and Ish Wainwright. Like, I guess Saban Lee, too.
Okogie.
Damian Lee and Okogie. So there's a few, but really it's mostly new pieces. And especially the bench, it was strange.
It was a little strange. I will admit that, but it didn't take long for me to start loving it just due to Booker, Beal, and Durant all going for double digits in the what's the most? Booker played 15 minutes. So it was fun watching those guys get going. And then the whole supporting cast, you know, just the first look at all these guys, I'd say there's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah. The bench is definitely going to be better. Not that will be hard. I bet our bench was really bad last year. But I think we're going to have one of the better benches in the league this year. I'm very encouraged by what I've seen through these first few preseason games. So it also just seems like the energy is really good. This is in a different game, of course, but we saw some pretty nice ankle-breaking crossovers from Booker and Eric Gordon in the Portland game, the first one, and Beal isn't even suited up for this game, and he's on the bench, and he's getting up, and he's excited, and it just seems like the air around the team is very positive and optimistic right now.
Yeah, it feels that way. It looks like they're quickly building chemistry, and that's all you can really hope for with a team like this, with new players and a new coach, and I mean even a new owner. Everything's new, but
yeah,
the on the court product, that's all that really matters. And I think just from 3 preseason games that we've seen, I think things are moving in the right direction, and we should expect quite a bit out of this team this year, honestly, just from what we've seen so far.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do want to say in this Detroit game, Monty Williams is the perfect coach for that Detroit team. And they've got some talent. I mean, they're probably not going to be great, but Cade Cunningham hopefully is fully back from injury and has no issues there. Thompson, is it both Thompson twins who play there?
No, just one of them. Just
okay.
One.
That's what I thought.
Osar, whatever. I don't know.
I think he's going to be pretty good. I liked what I saw from him in Summer League. I think Monty Williams is just the perfect coach for this young Detroit team.
No, I really think so too. And I mean, they have so much size. They're big everywhere.
Yes.
Stewart's playing power forward for them while they have Duren out there starting at center. And then they're trying to decide between Bagley and Wiseman for backup big man minutes. That's a pretty nice situation to be in, I'd say. I'm not saying that both those guys are big studs or anything, but you're in the position to choose one of them, whoever fits your team better. So totally. a lot of nice tools, a lot of young guys. That seems like you get Monty into that situation, and that's where Monty cooks. He's gonna build that locker room up. He's gonna build the chemistry. He's gonna hold guys accountable. And I think the Pistons should be on the up and up. They're not gonna. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs this year. Maybe they do, but within the next couple, I bet they'll be in there.
Totally. Oh yeah, yeah. I don't think they will this year, but I wouldn't be surprised in a year or two to see them in there. So, yeah, I'm happy for Monty, happy that he found a spot, and he's getting paid, so good for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game, I mean, a little bit disappointing that we couldn't hold the lead, but again, it's preseason, and we still won, so.
Yeah, and what everybody wants in the first game of preseason is to go to overtime.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah. We doubled them up in overtime to take that win. Big time. Just big time stuff right there.
Yeah, so we'll take it. The guy who stood out to me in this one, aside from the obvious ones, I'm actually going to say Metu. He stood out to me, and he actually has stood out to me in a couple games. But 14 points, 3 for 7 shooting, and 2 for 3 from 3, along with 3 rebounds. He's been quietly pretty decent. I know he's probably not going to get a ton of playing time once the season rolls around, but I think he is an example of how our bench is so deep.
Yeah, he's an aggressive dude. I think he'll find his way into some minutes throughout the year. Probably not a full rotation gig for him, but he'll find his way on the court. I didn't know he shot it like that.
I didn't either.
I wasn't familiar with his game, but I'd say that's promising. That's exactly what we want. It's a big who's aggressive, who's going to go after rebounds, and he can stretch the floor. I mean, what's going to stop him from getting some small ball 5 minutes at some points?
Right.
I think that could be something to watch for.
I had a positive, visceral reaction when you said a big guy who's aggressive and goes to get rebounds.
Ooh.
I just feel like we haven't had that in so long.
Yeah. And another guy who's doing that is Nurkic.
Oh my gosh, I know.
I want to save that for when we talk about the Blazers game though, because that was where he shined.
Yes.
Shone?
I think it's shined.
Shined. Okay.
I don't know.
I'll get my wife in here. She'll fix that up for us. She's the grammar police.
I remember back in the day, like how long ago was that? 2016 or so, when we were writing articles, I would do a little section which sun shone or shined the brightest. It was like player of the game. And I still don't remember what I even called it.
One of the two.
One of the two. I looked it up. I had it right at one point, but I don't remember anymore.
That's fair. And no one will blame you.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, moving on to the next game against the Nuggets. So obviously the Nuggets had quite the year last year, ended up knocking us out of the playoffs. But this is the preseason, so none of that really mattered. Anyways, we're sitting out the big three for this game, so we see a bunch of other guys get some opportunity. And we take the L in this one, 115-107. But shout out to Josh Okogie for playing an excellent game on both sides of the ball, especially offense, with 17 points on 7 for 13 shooting.
Yeah, that's really nice. And I was encouraged by this because we were only playing, well, I guess we're going to talk about starters later, but we were really only playing two of our starters, and one of them being Josh Okogie. So Nurkic was our main starter that we played, where the Nuggets were starting Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They were playing a lot of their main guys. So while we lost, I was happy with how we hung with the Nuggets when we really weren't playing most of our main scorers.
Yep, I totally agree. Outside of Okogie's 17, it was a very balanced attack from our bench unit and the rest of the starters. So I think that's another good sign. Seeing that despite all of these guys only playing ball together for a few weeks, everybody can kind of get to, they're sharing the wealth out there. Like Utah is getting up some good shots. Bates Diop had a decent one in this one. And we're just speaking to the depth. There's so many guys on this team who can fill a role for this team. And that's kind of what they all ended up doing in this one. We just didn't have D-Book and KD dropping 20, 30 points to make this a big W for us. We just had a bunch of role players playing their roles.
And what really hurt us in the end was our defense just could not contain Julian Strother, goes Zags.
Yeah.
20 points on 8 for 12 shooting, 4 for 7 from 3. I mean, Rookie of the Year candidate, right?
Hey, he was impressive. I will say that.
He was
very impressive through the whole game.
Yeah.
And Najee also had a good game for them off the bench when it was getting late. He kind of helped put us away. So yeah, Nuggets have a pretty solid roster again this year, and I expect them to be fighting for a championship again too.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Rookie of the Year, I know this is off topic, but have you seen the Wembanyama dunk? I'm sure you have already.
Yeah.
Holy cow. How is anyone going to be able to stop him?
Oh man. He's who was it over? Thomas Bryant?
Yes, Bryant. And
the look on his face afterwards. Oh know. My god.
What was he supposed to do? I mean, I think the only person who even stands a chance at stopping him is Giannis. And even then, I'm just amazed.
I'm kind of hyped to watch Wemby versus Gobert for the first time, actually.
Yeah.
Because, Gobert's who we've pointed at as the best post defender, rim protector in the league for the last how many years? And
yeah,
just seeing what Wemby was doing. And more than just the dunk. I mean, his entire game.
That's true. Well,
Wow.
yeah, that's the thing with Gobert. Wemby's just going to shoot threes, I think, in cases like that. And that's going to pull Gobert way out. I wish he didn't play for the Spurs.
I mean,
I want to like him
oh, yeah,
so
I
bad.
know. I know. Oh. It's been a nice couple years with the
It really has.
Spurs being quiet, but
I know.
that's not going to last forever.
No, they're going to be good again because
Pretty obvious.
Wemby is, I think it's extremely apparent that he is a generational talent.
Yeah.
Just like last time the Spurs were bad and got Tim Duncan.
Yeah. So I saw a Reddit post today that said the correlation of height between Wemby and LeBron is the same as LeBron to Curry.
Oh my gosh. That's so weird. Wow.
Yeah.
And he can shoot. On top of
And
all
move.
of that, he
Yeah.
can shoot and move and handle the ball and play defense.
Like, how as a Suns fan, like, how am I not going to have the Spurs as my league pass team? You know, I want to watch that guy play ball.
Oh my gosh, he's going to be so good. Yeah.
And I mean, we'll probably be able to go on to ESPN and watch more or less full Wemby highlights every.
We're going to be hearing it. That's right. That's kind of the thing that's annoying. You know, he's just a kid. He's going to be really, really good. And you know, sports media is going to turn him into someone that a lot of people dislike because they never stop talking about him. It's kind of like this Colorado college football team.
Yeah.
I really liked what they were doing. I liked the Coach Prime thing. I thought Shadur Sanders was a good quarterback. And now I don't want to hear a word about them. I'm so over it. And they've lost a couple games, so it has slowed down. But still, they were a really nice feel-good story that sports media totally ruined.
Yeah. That is factual. I was even on board. I was excited to watch Colorado play, and yeah, they've been dropping games and all that hype. Yeah, it feels like a bit of a smack in the face. And I mean, even those kids on the team, like, think about that. The ones who aren't, you know, in the spotlight or wanting to be in the spotlight, they just playing college football and they get, you know, lumped into that whole thing. That'd probably be pretty tough.
Totally.
Pretty interesting situation there, but I don't know. I'm rooting for Coach Prime overall.
Oh,
I just don't need the media following his every move.
Totally. And I think that's going to be the thing with Wemby. We're already acknowledging that he's amazing and he's going to be really, really good for a long time. And it's kind of like LeBron. I've never been a big LeBron fan, but I can acknowledge that he's one of the greatest players to ever do it. And it feels really cool to be able to say I've seen him play in person.
Yeah, for sure. About Okogie and his big game to cap off this one. Confirmed fifth starter?
It seems like it, but I guess we're not going to know for sure until the regular season starts.
Yeah, I'm putting my money on him for sure.
Yeah, it is what it seems like. And I wish I could give credit because I just don't remember who said this, but I saw somewhere online, someone said the benefit of Okogie starting is there is familiarity with Booker, definitely, and then KD to a certain extent.
Yep.
So you might as well start him. So there's some semblance of familiarity.
Yeah, I'm into that. Okay, moving on to the next one. Phoenix at Portland. We get the W 122 to 111. And we just happened to run into Deandre Ayton in Portland for this game.
You mean dominating?
Dominating. Yeah. So I'll just be very blunt about this. This matchup just made me completely get over the trade. I don't care anymore.
I know.
He's gone. I'm not worried about it. I think we're going to be better because of it. I think Ayton still might have a better statistical season than what Nurkic does, but I think the Phoenix Suns are better now because of it.
We're going to win a lot more games than the Blazers, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure.
Yeah.
But and I said he might not have the stats that Ayton has this year, Nurkic, but in this one he had 17, 8, and 5 with 2 steals and a block in 21 minutes.
Yeah. And what did Ayton have?
Ayton, not that. He had 7 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block in 23 minutes. He shot 6 times.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep. I was really hoping that, hey, maybe Portland's going to feed him down in the paint. But it's no different. It's no different than what it was here.
He is what he is. We know what he is at this point. And he's going to go out every 6 months and say, I'm dominating, and then nothing will change. And yeah, I'm glad it's not happening for us. Because totally, the same thing happened to me. After watching this, it just cemented how okay I am with this trade. At the end of the day, the return still is kind of disappointing since Ayton was so highly touted and first overall pick and all that, of course. And we can talk ad nauseum about that, as many have, but we're not going to. So that's always going to be a little bit disappointing. But yeah, this game really was helpful in getting over the shock and disappointment of the initial return.
Yep, well said. I loved watching Nurkic hustle for rebounds, especially offensive. He had 3 offensive rebounds in this one. And, Ayton not making that effort while Nurkic does, and Nurkic getting rewarded, and Nurkic not having to ask for the ball, him getting it himself, him going back up with it, up with it strong and getting to the line
keeping the ball up
times.
High.
Yeah, man, there's just so many things that he does differently. I'm not even going to say better, but differently, and maybe the right way.
It's the fundamentals, yes. When he gets the ball, he keeps it up high. When he gets a rebound, he keeps it up high. He goes up strong, and if he gets fouled, he can make his free throws. Ayton wasn't a horrible free throw shooter or anything, but Nurkic is decent, and you're right. He sets screens, too. Nurkic sets good screens. And Ayton just hardly ever did that. And it was so wild to watch this game because I saw Ayton, and I intentionally was paying attention to how he was setting screens. And it was just the same thing. He slips before even making any contact with the defender. And I just remember being so frustrated at that because the screens that he would set were just a decoy, essentially. They weren't even real. So it's nice to see Nurkic, who's a good screen setter, good rebounder, can hit his free throws, works hard, and doesn't complain.
Yeah. It's going to be a joy having him on the team. And it sounds like locker room wise, it sounds like he's the man.
Yeah, that's what everyone says.
Easy to like, easy to get along with, but then most importantly is accountable.
Yeah.
And that's, Ayton was a pretty easygoing guy, and I'm sure he had some buddies on the team and all that. But could you rely on Deandre Ayton? Game 6 of the playoffs tells you no.
Right.
Or whatever one he sat out.
Right, exactly. And just, I know this is not that big of a deal, but there's some pettiness of him unfollowing Devin Booker and Chris Paul on Instagram. You just want to be able to go out and still stay on good terms. It's almost like a job. I feel like, whenever you leave a job, you don't want to burn any bridges. You want to stay in good standing with the job so that in case something happens or a new opportunity comes up or they can pay you more or whatever, you want to keep that good. And it's poor form to talk bad about your former employer. So, I'm just seeing so much of that here, and I'm not trying to be like a total boomer about this or anything, but
I mean, it has like this situation has to happen throughout the NBA and every sports league. If you have beef with a guy on your team, you end up getting traded like Ayton got traded.
Right.
Then just completely hypothetical. Devin Booker signs his next contract with the 76ers. And then the 76ers trade for DeAndre Ayton as part of a bigger package.
Exactly.
And they're back together in the same city, like
right.
You can't do that.
Exactly. Yeah, you want to stay. And if there's anyone in the NBA you want to stay on good terms with, it's Devin Booker and Chris Paul. And Chris Paul's not even here. You want to stay on Chris Paul's good side because you're going to be playing against him.
No, I almost can't blame him for unfollowing Chris Paul. Like, I can't listen to Chris Paul say another word ever again.
Fair enough. I mean, Chris Paul is in his ear all the time. That's okay. I guess I can give him a pass on that one, but still.
But it still didn't get through to him, obviously, because he's still not setting screens.
Or rebounding, or trying.
Yeah. All of those things. You're right.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, overall, it was fun to see. Getting Durant and Booker back into the lineup for the Blazers game. Let Beal have another one off. Just good to see the team perform like that. And then we're going to end up playing them again next game. Let's talk about the next two real quick. We have the Blazers again on Monday. That's 7 o'clock local time. And also on NBA TV, if you don't have the antenna or access to Arizona's Family Sports, which has just been fantastic, by the way.
I was going to say, I have nothing but great things to say about it.
Right. I mean, like, the intro it's a callback to the old Suns intro from back when they used to be on cable. Before our time here.
Love it.
It's still very cool. And then, I mean, like, the scoreboard looks nice, works. How many times did Bally Sports just have everything jacked up when you...
I know, or the audio wasn't working, or some issue. Exactly, yeah.
And these guys are doing it for the first time in how long? And it's just ready to go perfect.
Exactly. I also want to say, I want to give a shout out to the radio broadcast. Just with the timing of some of these games, I've had to listen on the radio a little bit, and now Al McCoy being retired is definitely sad, but they've done a nice little intro. Al McCoy does a little intro now. He recorded something, so you still hear his voice in the radio broadcast, so that's really nice. And those guys do a good job.
I heard a Al McCoy Shazam after it made 3 at one of the home games too. Like on a soundboard type thing.
Wow, that's great.
I liked that. That'll be. I can't wait to hear that hundreds and hundreds of times this year.
Yes, but so these two games are kind of interesting. One, because we play Portland a second time, so I don't know how that's going to work. Apparently, we will be starting our big 3, so that's something of note. I just don't remember playing this many preseason games. I know they cut it down. It used to be more than this. I thought they cut it to 3 or 4, but now it's 5. I just don't even remember.
Yeah, it does seem like there's an extra one in there now or something.
Yeah, but that's okay. Play the Lakers on Thursday. Probably won't start any starters. But, it will be an interesting opportunity to see some of the end of the bench guys because we do have a couple cuts to make before the regular season starts.
Right. Yeah. That's kind of their last hurrah. I think the rosters just have to be cut down by opening day. So
yeah,
that's that will happen, which is a bummer. And, maybe, I kind of assume Keon Johnson might get cut. Maybe he comes back on a G League contract afterwards. I don't know if that's even legal. I don't know how that works quite yet.
I don't know.
The rules. So we'll have to see how that goes. But, a couple cuts to make. And keep an eye out on Damian Lee for that. If his injury is going to keep him out for a whole season.
Right.
Over half the season, I think it might be worth letting him go, sadly.
I know, it is sad. But I had that thought as well.
All right. Preseason overall, out of the new guys, who impressed you the most?
So I'm editing the question a tiny bit because obviously this guy hasn't impressed me the most. I think the answer is obvious. It's going to be Bradley Beal. He looks great. But Keon Johnson is where I'm going to go. I think Keon Johnson is he's giving reasons to stay on the team. So he's going to be competing with, like you said, Damian Lee with that injury. It's always unfortunate to have to cut someone because of an injury, but that's something we might be looking at. He's competing essentially with Ish Wainwright and maybe one other. Maybe, I always have to look at his name. He may be competing a little bit as well with Azubuike. Because, backup center. So
yeah,
it's just going to be kind of a matter of, do we need another guard or another center or Ish? So I think Keon Johnson is giving a lot of reasons to stay on this team. He has been making some good decisions. He hasn't done anything like incredible, but I feel like every time I watch him, he seems to be in the right spot. He hustles, he works hard. He's the kind of guy that you want at the end of your bench.
Yeah, totally. I think it says a lot to our depth in general that Keon Johnson is fighting for a roster spot.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a few squads where he'd have one locked up for sure. I don't think he'd get a ton of minutes anywhere in the league right now, but
No.
You'd think a young guy like him with his athleticism, a lot of guys would, be willing to take a chance on him. So the fact that we're, maybe considering letting him go is just a testament to how deep we are.
Yeah.
And along with that, the new guy who's impressed me the most is Eric Gordon.
Yeah.
And he's had some nice shooting games. He still has some athleticism, even though it doesn't look like it. But his leadership, his knowledge, and all that is going to go such a long way on our bench. Because, I like Damian Lee as a player, but the amount we were relying on him last year for big minutes, and other guys too. Even Okogie at points wasn't looking great out there.
Totally.
But now it's Eric Gordon, and I was thinking this could have just as well as gone to Grayson Allen too.
Right.
And those two guys who could start for some teams, who would definitely have a role on all 30 teams in the league, they're both coming off our bench.
Yes.
And I think I guess what new guy impressed me the most, which new guys would be the backup guards. Because, and hey, even Goodwin came in against the Trailblazers and had a few moments there. He looked pretty nice. Yeah. He had 9 points. So, man, I just think like that difference that we're going to see this year is going to be what maybe wins us another playoff game or two along the way.
Oh, totally. That's the thing too. I'm still not sure if I'm ready to say something positive about him, but I was talking with some of my coworkers the other day and we were all kind of saying Grayson Allen is good. And it was kind of painful for us to admit, but he's pretty good.
It didn't take me long. In game 1, he had 18 points on 7 for 11 shooting, and I was like, oh, I'm a big Grayson Allen guy. Always have been. Big fan.
I'm never going to say that. Though, you see his media day comments. Even just looking at him, he's got a little touch of gray in his hair. Apparently he got married somewhat recently. He's grown up. He's more mature now. It doesn't excuse the things he's done. And, in college, he's definitely matured a lot from that. He has done things more recently than that, too, that I'm not a fan of. But he does seem to have matured a little bit, and that gives me some hope. He can shoot the ball, and that's what we need. So, yeah, it's hard to say too much bad about him right now.
I have nothing bad to say about Grayson right now. For sure.
I know. It's tough. But, yeah, So getting pretty excited for the season to get underway. A couple more preseason games left. But until then, we're going to move to the non-sports section of our show. And this was inspired by All Fantasy Everything. It's, as I've mentioned before, one of my favorite podcasts out there. Very funny. And they drafted things you only do on vacation. And I thought that was a great topic. So I'm curious, what's something you only do on vacation?
I'm going to alter it just a touch,
Okay.
just a little tiny bit. Something that I do much more on vacation.
Yes.
And that is go shirtless.
Oh, see, now that's great. That is a great answer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't have much reason to be shirtless at home, I guess. Yeah, we got a pool out back, and obviously when we go swimming, I'll do that. But I feel like when I'm on vacation, it's just like you're not going to see anybody that you're ever going to see again. The likelihood of you meeting up with these people again, pretty low. So who cares,
Right. Well, even just the hotel room, that was something they brought up on that episode. They said, why is it that we go into the dirtiest part of wherever we're going to be and just take all our clothes off?
Good point.
So totally. Yeah, that's a great answer. Mine is somewhat similar, actually. My answer is wear a robe.
Oh, nice.
I don't ever wear a robe at home, but when they have that robe hanging in the hotel bathroom, I'll put that thing on.
I got into the robe life last winter, Mitchell.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And I'm not going back.
Wow.
If you're working from home and you don't need to be presentable and on the camera at all, like, you can't beat a robe.
Yeah, interesting. I don't work from home, hardly ever, but still. I got my wife a robe a while back for our last anniversary, actually, because I think the second anniversary is cotton for the gift, so I got her a nice robe. I don't even think the robe is cotton, but that's what I got her.
Close enough.
Yeah, and it is nice, and doesn't wear it in the summer, of course, because it's too hot for that. But in the winter, I do see her wearing that thing, and I think that does look pretty nice.
Oh, I remember why we got me the robe.
Oh, yes.
For a hot tub in the winter.
Oh, that's a good call.
And you don't have to mess around with the towel afterwards. You can just throw the robe on and then walk inside. It's a pretty good move. So I'm big on. Yeah, you have to have one of the big, like, I don't know what they're called. One of those big robes that can absorb quite a bit.
Right. No, it's the hotel robe is just a towel with a belt around it. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about something more legit.
Sure, yeah.
I'm
Something
gonna have to look into this. Yeah, I gotta look into this now that the weather is cooling down.
Yeah, I highly recommend. And like, if you have more chest hair than I do, so if you're going no shirt underneath it and then you're showing the chest, it's kind of a power move too.
Especially if I have the gold chain on too.
Yeah, you need.
Do that. If I do that, I'm gonna need to go to a cigar lounge.
I was just thinking that I was like, I need a cigar now. Like, if you had the big gold chain, a robe, and a stogie, that would be perfect.
And I've never been a cigar guy, never even tried one, and I don't really have any interest or intend to.
Now you do.
But I don't have a choice if that's what I'm wearing. It's like
we should do our podcast like that. Robes, chains, cigars.
Yeah. Okay. We can make
Okay.
I just need the robe.
Fair enough. All right. I think I'm done. Are you done?
Yeah, I think that's all I had to say.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Sunny in Phoenix podcast. Check us out on Twitter at Sunny in PHX Pod and on YouTube, Sunny in PHX Podcast. We'll be back next weekend with another episode. Thanks again for tuning in, and go Suns.